Shanghai, it's 11 JPEG's economy now, and he isn't too worried about debt. China signaled its economic priorities on Wednesday at the end of a meeting of top Communist Party economic leaders with a statement indicating that President 11 is fully in charge. Labeled 11 JPEG thought on socialist economy with Chinese characteristics, the statement called for trimming industrial overcapacity, controlling the supply of money and other moves that have been staples of China's other recent declarations. Barely mentioned, China surging debt. Despite downgrades this year by two international credit rating firms and warnings from institutions like the International Monetary Fund, the statement issued at the conclusion of the Central Economic Work Conference called for controlling borrowing by local governments, but it otherwise glossed over a vast borrowing splurge in recent years, driven in large part by Chinese companies. Prudent monetary policy should be kept neutral, the floodgates of monetary supply should be controlled, and credit and social financing should see reasonable growth, the statement said. The statement illustrates both Mr. 11's growing clout and what economists say is a subtle shift in how China may address its debt pile, a shift that suggests leaders may be willing to tolerate even more debt if it will help growth. The label applied to the new statement echoes those used by past strong Chinese leaders like Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping and marks Mr. 11's long ascent to become the Communist Party's unquestioned leader. 2 months ago, the party lifted Mr. 11 to Mao's stature by enshrining 11 JPEG thought. Already, Mr. 11 had been considered the top word in Chinese economic decisions. Typically that role has gone to China's premier, currently Li Keqiang, but Mr. 11 has dominated economic meetings and put his own name on important economic documents in recent years. Wednesday's statement solidified that dynamic. It shows that I am the boss, said Gary Liu, president of the China Financial Reform Institute, a non-profit economic research group in Shanghai. The absence of major concern about debt also echoed recent Chinese statements. Since October, Chinese economic policymakers have expressed little interest in tackling the country's mountain of debt, which has accumulated rapidly over the past decade. By contrast, the Work Conference's statements over the past 2 years devoted more attention to the subject. Instead, the new statement called for stabilizing China's often volatile housing market, particularly by helping to develop a stronger rental market, and for trimming the list of industries in which foreign investors are restricted from participating. China's economy, the world's second largest after that of the United States, is fueled to a considerable extent by lending from its state-controlled banking system. A relaxed stance on debt suggests leaders could be less inclined to take steps that would trim the debt load but also might hold back short-term economic growth. Chinese officials in recent months have signaled a subtle change of emphasis toward tolerating an overall increase in debt as long as corporate debt stays under control, said Eswar Prasad, a Cornell University economist.